Hello guys, you're welcome once again to my YouTube channel, and today I will be showing you how to generate token using JSON Web Token. Now JSON Web Token actually have an npm package that you can use to create your token on your Node application. So you can just go to the npm website and then search for JSON Web Token, and you get to see this package over there. It's one of the popular packages for token generation, which can be used, to perform various operations on your app where you'll be needing token. And as you can see, we have about 30 million and more weekly downloads. So that's a very, very popular package, and it is very very easy to use, and more especially if you're using it on your Node app. All what you need to do is on your Node application, just import the token, and then the algorithm is very very simple also to implement. You just kind of call the jwt.sign method, and then you pass in the needed parameters to generate your token. So in this very tutorial, that is exactly what I'm going to do. I will walk you through on the step guide on how to make use of JSON Web Token, and more especially if you're a beginner, you've not made use of JSON Web Token before, and I will run you through on how to use that on your application. Now, quickly before we go to the code, I would like to basically itemize the steps on how we'll go about that on my board over here. So these are some of the pretty steps you have to kind of take for you to generate token and then make use of that token using JSON Web Token. So one of the basic steps you have to do is you have to install the package. This is the first line of action you need to do. And then after installing the package, then the next thing you need to do, wherever you want to make use of JSON Web Token, you need to import that very package, import the package. And then after importing the package, then you can call on dot sign method, which is one of the method on JSON Web Token for you, to generate your token. So you kind of call the sign method. Once you call the sign method, this will basically help you to generate those tokens. And another key thing I want to quickly draw your attention to is that when making use of this sign method of the JWT, you basically need to send in two items into this assign method. So these two methods requires two parameters for you to successfully generate your token. And so let me quickly itemize those parameters you will need. Parameter for the sign method. Okay, so yeah, that's it. The parameters, one of the first parameter we will need is actually the payload. That is those things you want to kind of pass into the function, and then the algorithm will generate this kind of random string, random string items for you. So the JWT token is actually written to kind of randomly generate some kind of string with respect to the parameters or the payload you'll be passing into the sign method. So and the payload have to be in object format. You cannot send a string or a character or a boolean. The payload has to be in object format. It has to be in key value pair. So that is the first items you'll be sending into the sign method, and then the next thing you'll be sending in is actually your password or your secret for this algorithm. This algorithm need your secret, to randomly generate you this token. So this is very, very important. And then the third items you'll be sending in, which is very, very optional. It's not mandatory you pass that, but in some scenario, depending on your use case or how you want the token to work with, you need to pass in. Sometimes you need to pass in that third item you'll be sending in for this function is actually the duration at which you want this token to last, and that also has to come in object form, which you that is how you kind of pass that. So basically, that is those are just the three items you can use to generate your token using JWT JSON Web Token. So quickly, I will go over to my code editor, and then we'll implement this. We'll put this to practice, and then we can see how we get our JSON Web Token on Node server or on your Node application. So here on my code editor, I have an empty folder, and then I created a file called auth.js. So I basically have nothing in there. It's just an empty file. So since this is going to be a Node application, you need to initialize this, to let your machine, to let your Node um, runtime environment know that this is a Node application. Whenever you're starting any Node application, the first thing you need to do is you need to initialize your project. So I will type on my terminal npm init -y. So that will kind of skip all the questions and the answer I'm supposed to, kind of respond to. And should in case you want to skip that part, just type on your keyboard npm init -y. So that will kind of install our package or JSON for us, which is what you're currently seeing right now. It's just some basic JSON object over there, and there's currently no any dependencies. Now back to our step guide here. As I've earlier said, I said one of the things you need to do is to first of all install the package. So for me to install JSON Web Token, you can see the installation guide on the npm website. For you to install JSON Web Token, all what you need to do is you just need to write on your terminal npm install JSON Web Token, and you can type this. But let me just quickly do and then paste it on my terminal. That will install the npm package JSON Web Token on our project. And now, while that is being installed, you will see that is being added on our JS package or JSON. You can quickly see that right here. We now have the JSON Web Token as one of our dependency that was just installed just now. So we'll successfully implemented the first step guide here. Then the next thing we need to do is to import this JSON Web Token package. You can quickly get that also on the documentation over here. And when you scroll down, yeah, so this is it. This is how you kind of import the package in JavaScript. Just say var, and then you use the require if you are using the common module. But if you're using the ES module, you make use of the import keyword. So since I'm using the common module by default, Node uses a common module, so I will have to import it using the require keyword. So you can make use of const or var, just like the way they have it over here, but I'll be making use of const to import that very package. So that's the first thing I'll need to do after installing. I'll say const JWT equal to require, and I'll put that in my bracket string format, JSON Web Token. So that's basically it. We've now installed our package. We've imported the package into application. The next point of action is to create the token using the sign method of the JWT package. So, and remember I said earlier on that it will actually be needing three parameters, or basically two parameters to create this token. So I will first need to kind of declare these items. I have to create my payload, my password, and then the duration before creating the JSON Web Token. So I can go to line 2 of my code and say let payload equal to I'll create an object here. So I said the payload are actually those items, those variables I want to use to generate this very token. Those are some of the things I want to kind of convert to this token. So I will basically be sending in just two things into my payload. You can actually send in anything you want to generate your JSON Web Token, but for my own case, I'll be sending in an ID. The ID, let me just put in some randomly generated text for my ID, And okay, so that's my ID. Then the other thing I'll be sending in, let me quickly send in John Doe. And lastly, let me just send in an email. Let me send in my email there, which is obed.james at soft.com. That's my email address. Um, that's what I want to be using as my payload. And then the next thing I want to create is my password or my secret, which I want to use in generating this token. So let me call that password. Let password. I can pass in, any string in here. It's very, very important to keep your password secret. You don't expose them, so that somebody don't just kind of break into your system and kind of generate some tokens without your permission, and then hand it over to your user. Because in most cases, this token will be used to protect some routes, to protect your server, to protect your data on the back end. So it's very, very important, you keep your secret private. It is recommended you put it in your EMV. But since this is just a demo, I can just kind of put it in here. This is just for some practice purpose. So I just kind of have some randomly generated string there for my password. And so that is that. Now I can go right straight ahead and create my JSON web token, and we'll quickly see that. So let me um, call that token, which is JWT. Let me put that off. This is Copilot. It's kind of giving some hint, but I would like to put everything line by line so you get to see how it works. So let's call it token. Let token call JWT dot sign. Um, then we pass in those parameters which I've mentioned. We need to send that in into the function to generate this token. So the first item we'll be sending in, as I've listed it here, it actually has to be the payload. So I'll pass in the payload, which what we have over there, and then the secret. Um, Now, if you kind of hover over that, you can see some kind of hints. My code editor is kind of trying to show me some of the things I need to pass in, and what I'll be sending in is my password. So yeah, that is basically it. And at this point, successfully generated the token. So all what I will need to do right now is, console log this token. So we'll see the token generated, and then I will, kind of run this very application. So we see the newly generated token. So all what I need to do, I can just go ahead and console log um, this token. Okay, so that is it on my terminal. Let me run this little file using nodes, and then we'll see the token that is just generated on this very file. So I can run this application by running node, the name of the file auth.js. So now if I run this very application, this is the token that we just generated. Now you can pass this to the user, and then wherever they provide you this very token, you can verify this token on using the .sign method, to get those very details that is being passed into this token. Now, this token is kind of having within it is kind of having encoded within it the payload which will pass when generating this very token, and the .sign method can use to extract those very information from this token by using the the password which we use in generating the very token, or else you can go to jwt.io and then to get those very information from your token. So quickly I will copy this very token and then go to jwt.io to get the payload, to get those very information about this very token. So once I copy that, I come to jwt.io, and then when I clear my console and I put in that very token, we got to see the payload data from this token. So, all those information we pass in as the payload to generate the token. This JWT, this we can kind of, encode, decode the data to get the very payload. So that is how You use JWT, to generate some token, embed with it some payload, some users information, and this can be very, very useful in your application on the back end, on the server side. And so that is pretty it. And thank you very much for watching. And do feel free to like the video, subscribe, comment, and see you in the next tutorial. Have a nice day. Bye bye.